Okay, so this is the Unit 7 FRQ programming test. There are two parts to this question, as you can see. There is a part A where you're getting the total revenue, and a part B where you get where you update the flights. There are two classes given to you: the flight class, which you do not need to change. It's just giving you information about that class. So you can use these methods without really having to care about how they work. Okay, so you can get the number of passengers on a flight, you can get the price of a seat on the flight, and you can get the capacity of an airplane. The airport contains an array list of flights, of flight objects. Right? So it is a changeable length list of flight objects. What you have to do is, for part A, you have to get the total revenue of all the flights at the airport. And for part B, you have to write update flights for the airport. So we're going to do part A first. This method returns the total revenue for all the flights into and out of the airport. The revenue is a product of the number of passengers times the price of a seat. All the seats have the same price. So there's only one price, and there's a number of passengers. However, as we know, sometimes airlines sell more seats than there is capacity for on their airplane. If there are more passengers than there is capacity, then the revenue is just the product of the capacity times the price. So if they sold too many tickets, they can't put all those people on the plane, right? So if there are more passengers than the capacity, just multiply the capacity by the price, not all the passengers. If it's less than or equal to the capacity, that's fine. Then we just use the number of passengers. So here's an example. There are four flights here. One has seat prices of $50 with a capacity of 30, seat price of $100.50, capacity of 60, 200 with a capacity of 40, and $100 with a capacity of 120. The number of passengers are 25, 10, 50, and 20. So what we need to do is go through this list of flights, multiply the number of passengers by the price to get the total amount. However, if you look at the third flight right here, right, the capacity is 40 and the number of passengers is 50. So because there are too many passengers, we multiply the price by the capacity of the airplane instead. All right, so let's do this over here. So main.java, you can use this for testing. I created a flight example, $1, one passenger, one capacity. Created an array list of flights, and then I created an airport by passing in that array list of flights. So the main doesn't actually do anything right now, and it doesn't do anything when it's tested. I test only the methods that you have to write. Here's the flight. You don't need to edit this file. Like I said at the beginning, all these methods work properly. You don't need to worry about changing them or doing anything to them. They work exactly the way you'd expect. You can look at it if you want. It's pretty straightforward. It just stores the passengers, price, and capacity. Airport is what we have to edit. So we have the list of flights. You do not need to change the constructor. It works properly. It sets the list of flights. And what we need to do is get the total revenue. So what we're going to need to do is go through the list of flights. I'm going to use an enhanced for loop. Right? And so what can I use to get the number of passengers? I can use get num passengers. is greater than the capacity, then, okay, so I need a double total rev. I'm going to start out at 0. So if the number is greater than the capacity, then I multiply the capacity times the price. Total revenue capacity times price. Okay. If it's not greater than the capacity, then I just use the number of passengers. And make that any bigger. Okay. And then at the end, I just have to turn the total revenue. I go through the flights. If there are more passengers than capacity, I multiply the capacity with the price. If there aren't too many passengers, I just multiply the passengers times the price. And I think that's all I have to do for that one. So I've done the first one and I can actually submit, which is fine. It'll run the tests, and obviously the update flights will fail because I haven't done anything there, but I'm hoping at least some of them will pass here. So score is 50%. All right, so here we go. Question description A, passed, revenue, passed. Okay. So basically what that's telling me is the tester set up flights exactly like this, right? It tested to make sure that it returned 12,255. All right, so we're going to use the same flights for part 2. This method removes from the array list all the flights where, it removes any flight where the number of passengers is less than 20% of the total capacity. And then it should return the total number of passengers who were removed. Okay, so we have to do 2 things here. We need to update the list of flights, and we need to keep track of how many were removed. So that's going to be an integer, removed passengers, 0, and that's what we're going to return. So how do we calculate it now? Again, we're going to have to go through the list of flights. So I'm going to do this. All right, so I'm going to use a for loop here, and I'm going to go backwards through the list of all flights. Because that way, as I go backwards, I don't care if the list shrinks. So for int I equals flights dot size -1, I greater than or equal to 0, I minus minus. I'm starting at the last element and going backwards through it one at a time. And I say if, actually, you know what? I'm gonna, yeah, I'll just do it this way. So if flights, no, I'm gonna make an object called a flight here. F passengers divided by capacity less than 0.2. So I need to make these doubles though, otherwise it's going to do integer arithmetic. And I need to keep track of how many passengers I've removed. And I need to remove flight at position I. I think I already put in the return statement. All right, so let's give it a test. All right, so that worked. So that is test 7.